On this episode of the Ian Gleason Show, we're going to talk about something a little more serious, because it's been plaguing the country for quite some time now. It's sexual assault, sexual harassment, rapes, things that go on in this country that really shouldn't anymore. And it seems like it's increasingly involving college campuses or younger people. So we want to kind of dispel some myths and also verify that this is actually a thing. So we'll bring in a couple of guests to talk about this subject. But we'll cover that and a little bit more on this episode of the Ian Gleason Show.
You are listening to The Ian Gleason Show. All episodes are available on iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, or anywhere quality podcasts can be found. To help support us, please leave a review on your platform of choice. To contact the show or keep up with the cast and crew, they can be found on social media sites, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search The Ian Gleason Show. Emails can be sent to theiangleasonshow@gmail.com. Thank you, and enjoy the show.
Hello everybody, this episode of the Ian Gleason Show is brought to you by Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you can help support the Ian Gleason Show, and for those of you in Detroit Lakes, you know by now how important that is in order to get us out there to visit you. So please support the Ian Gleason Show for as little as $1 a month. It's at patreon.com, that's patreon.com/The Ian Gleason Show. Help us get to you, help us keep these shows free, help us to entertain you by donating today at patreon.com. Heard in all 50 states and 98 countries around the globe. Welcome to the Ian Gleason Show. I want to introduce you to the panel of people that we have today because it's larger than it normally is. Let me go with the regular cast of characters. Jose, nice to see you. Thank you for being here, my friend.
Standing, man. Glad to be here.
And to my left is Chino, for those of you who are watching on YouTube. By the way, you can find us on The Ian Gleason Show on YouTube. Chino, how are you, my brother?
Always great, man.
Good. I'm going to go to Cuddy right now, a man who has been behind the show from the very beginning and markets this thing like nobody else. How are you, my brother?
What's up, righteous?
Awesome. And to my right, if you're watching on YouTube, you're going to notice that there is Jay and Riley who are here. Hello, ladies. How are you?
Hello. Good.
We're here because we want to discuss a subject that is strange, I think, certainly for this show. So I want to lean heavily on you ladies when we actually get into it. But there's some kind of national plague, it seems, that has been going on lately of more than just sexual harassment. A lot of assaults. And it might just be because we're hearing about it more, or it might just be because, there is an increase in it. Do you guys have an opinion on, and I would assume that, let's start at the very beginning with sexual harassment, like catcalling and all of that stuff. I mean, I lived in New York, that's a big deal. It goes on all the time. But for the two of you, I would imagine it's probably a regular occurrence for you. So let me start with Jay. Do you have any recent experiences with what you would deem to be sexual harassment, and how do you deal with that?
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's happened a couple different places, not just, unfortunately it's happened at work, it's happened at bars. So it's not a cool thing. I think what you were saying earlier, it kind of comes down to, in my opinion, education. Educate each other. Mm-hmm. Parents, educate your kids how to talk to women, not just treat them like they're a piece of meat, honestly. Mm-hmm. Or use that in the work purpose to get you a higher position, or because that was kind of what I went through recently. So I'm completely against it, and I think
I
think it's all about educating each other about it, talking about it, communicate with people that have been through it and get their own opinion on it, and let everybody else know. Just
Move on from there.
communication.
Yeah,
It's all about communication and education.
Let me ask you, Riley, because you have a different set of exposure scenarios, I would say, than Jay does. Because you are a model.
True.
And you also work with all different types of people in what you do in your day job. Is this a prevalent thing for you, and do you think that since you are exposed to a lot more that you've been harassed a lot more, or does that not matter?
Being in the industry that I'm in, once you get into modeling, you kind of have to tell yourself, you know, you are putting yourself in that position to get that kind of attention. And so for me personally, you know, when I go to Uptown, a bar, if a guy gets a little too close.
For those of you not in Dallas, by the
Uptown.
way, Uptown is a very crowded, young machismo male
Very pretentious.
type of
Very.
environment.
Right, so when I'm there, I do get attention and I don't wave it away. However, if someone, you know that I'm not a hugger. If someone comes and touches my arm or something, I'm not okay with that. Now, if someone compliments me, that's fine. So there is a little difference of it because you have to realize, at least when you're in my place, that you are a public figure and there are going to be people coming up to you and saying hello and they do want to hug and all that. To me, you know, if you see someone that you think is attractive, don't just go up and hug them. Don't go up and touch them. They don't like that.
That is kind of sleazy to just walk up and,
It's
Yeah.
totally
That's
not
sleazy.
And I get it. Yeah, and
Because
I
that's
get it
what
from
they're
time to
doing.
time, and I mean, I just have to smile and, you know, say hello back, but there is the whole touching aspect. When you touch me, that's when it becomes a problem. Other than that, the catcalling, that doesn't bother me. That's probably just because maybe my brain tuned it out over time. But that doesn't personally bother me, but I can see how that's a problem for other people.
But
for
it doesn't
sure.
it doesn't concern you that catcalling might go to a level that is unsafe?
And it gets to the point, honestly.
Sure. And by the way, for those of you who are not watching on YouTube, these are two very attractive women, and I mean, and quite frankly, I don't think that has a lot to do with it. I think with most women have to deal with this on some level at some point, regardless of your attractiveness. But I feel that especially with, and we're going to get into this later on, but a younger, I would say collegiate set of males, age-wise, feel that they are at a distinct advantage with women who are among their age group, and so therefore they feel that they can find the most attractive woman that they deem to be attractive and impose upon them their own social desires, or more so than not, secret desires. So this isn't to mitigate, hey, here's this hot chick and this other hot chick, and they're obviously hot chicks. I mean, every woman deals with this.
Yes.
To be quite honest. So I guess my next question is, whether you tune it out or not, is it disconcerting to you in the back of your mind?
It is for me, big time. Big time.
It's not for me, to be honest, but that's just me. It's I am kind of used to the attention, and so I do just kind of brush it off, and I don't really pay it too much attention. I don't think of it as sexual harassment or anything, but I can definitely see how people would go that route. 100%. I
Okay.
totally understand it.
And Jay, a little different for you. I mean,
in my opinion, if you're gonna do that, it's still disrespectful whether I tune it out or not.
Oh, sure, yeah.
You shouldn't do it, period. I have a personality, I like to hang out a lot amongst guys, and that's usually where I'm at. Sometimes guys get a little too friendly with me because I'm hanging out at a bar, drinking, getting to the point that a guy does. And I make comments that a guy would, or talk like a guy.
Right.
And I think that makes them feel like, oh, well, if this chick's saying the F word, then
they feel like they have it in.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So I've
The door's
gotten
open.
She's easy.
gotten
Right.
myself in that position before, to the point that dudes think they can go a completely different way with that, and that's the limit that I'm like, okay, hold on,
Yeah.
I'll,
Gotta get in the
I'll
eyes.
remove myself from the situation,
Yeah. Get
or
in the
let
eyes
someone
on it.
know, hey, you're being disrespectful,
Right.
or this guy's being disrespectful, please, like, stop.
And that.
I have no problem letting any guy know real quick that they're being disrespectful, and I think maybe that's why I don't see that other point of view, because I'm very verbal with it. If someone comes at me, and I think it's disrespectful, whether they grab my butt, am I allowed to say ass? Ass.
You can
Whether
say
they grab
yes.
my ass or whatever, it's disrespectful to touch someone regardless. And along with words, I'm very good at tuning words out. I've been called every name in the book, so it doesn't bother me. But it is harassment to, say stuff to girls that, you don't know them. You don't know what they're comfortable with.
Right.
I wave it off all day, and I'll get in a guy's face and be like, hey, not cool, back off real quick.
You bring up a good point, by the way. Sorry to cut you off, Jay, but you bring up a good point that we want to talk about later on in the episode about campus assaults, which is a big deal because there's a lot of partying, a lot of drinking going on, and quite frankly, from my perspective, a lot of dudes who think they have an in where they really don't, and that's when the problem begins. And it's not from the female's perspective, it's from the male's perspective.
Can I say something?
You can.
Before the guy even says to himself, hey, that girl right there, that's who I want to get with, we have already put it through our brains that A, it's going to happen, or B,
Didn't I
it's
just
not
say
going to
that last
happen.
week?
We already decided it before you even thought of it as a hypothetical.
Right,
Yeah.
which makes total sense.
No,
And by the
look-
way, for the sake of full disclosure, I should say that Jay is the fiance of Chino,
Nope.
Woo!
Nope.
So she is- or girlfriend of Chino.
Oh.
Oh, I thought we were keeping that away from the show. But
Well, I mean, we have to be honest about this right now because your perspective is going to be a little different. We can edit this out in post if you want me to.
that's fine.
But I think for the sake of conversation, because your perspective is going to be a little different, and also I want Jose and Cuddy's input on this because they both have daughters. So I think that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jose, but I'm going to go to you. Your perspective of the world must have changed when you had a daughter versus when you didn't. Not saying that you were a bad dude before, but now you have this element that must be taken care of, versus...
Actually, my perspective never changed. I mean, because I had sisters in my house, so it didn't bother.
Oh, okay. So you grew up knowing
Oh yeah.
none of this is good.
No, none of this is good.
Yeah.
And back then, yeah, they can shoot you. Do whatever. Now you have to sit there and be politically correct. And it's like, listen, this is it's like a 12-step boy program, whatever the BS that they have in school. It's like you have to sit there and explain to them why it's not proper, and then sit there and tell them, don't, without hurting their feelings. Nah, man, back then they'd bash your head in this.
But as the elder statesman on the show, though, and certainly somebody who has sisters and a daughter, I mean, you must have an opinion on, are we just seeing it in the news more because there's not much to talk about? Are we seeing it more because people are recognizing it's a problem? Are we seeing it more because it's happening more?
I think you're seeing it more and hearing about it more because it's happening more. These kids that are coming up nowadays, and going back to your or if you want to sit there and talk about your, future pro-job, so, the popular kid in school, he seems to think that he's entitled. He hasn't been brought up properly, because I tell you right now, I told my boys, I said, you know what, women know how to push your buttons, man. Your chick knows where to sit there and get you started. That's a given. If you feel like you have to put your hands on her in a non-Christian fashion, I says, give me a call. I will come get you, no questions asked. Because if you do this thing, you're gonna feel bad about it in the morning, like you can't even imagine, and then wait till I get my hands on it.
Yeah. Or the law. If it goes to that level.
The law is going to be at least.
You're the primary worry.
My dad was the law, so
Yeah, her
that's a whole
dad. Her
different
dad is a
story.
law
No, no,
enforcement
no.
officer. Yeah.
The law only can go so far. I mean, me, no.
Yeah,
Compassion goes out the window.
So let me ask
I'll
this.
curb stomp it.
By the way, it's such a. If you've never seen
That's a
American
good movie.
History X, God,
Great
is
part.
that the worst
Oh,
scene
yeah.
in all of the scenes of any movie?
When you
Hate
got
watching that.
Yeah, when you got
But
a
the guy
down-
deserved. Well,
He
he
deserved
didn't
it.
deserve it. He, he wrapped up in the
That's when you put a boot to that jaw and break it.
I would love to do it.
But see, so that's what I was talking about earlier, though. It comes down to parenting,
That's
educating
exactly
your
what it
kids.
is. And then they
I
don't,
was
they don't
brought
do that.
up the way that you probably brought your kids up, and that's kind of
Strip
where
and fair.
Exactly.
Yep.
That's what it
Exactly.
was.
And to be honest with you, I grew up in a pretty strict Irish household, and the same held true, and I didn't realize it until much later on, that your mother is always your enemy and always a god.
Yeah.
And if you treat her as such, I mean, the enemy aspect of it, it's more like,
I'm in your household.
she's
but
making
now-
me do this stuff I don't want to do, and blah blah blah.
I was
But if you
actually
treat
down
her
with
as a god, it's always that if it's not good enough for my mother, it's not good enough for any woman that I know. And by the way, everything is not good enough for my mother. So everything should be treated that way.
Moms are crazy though.
They can be, but from a male, and I'm glad you brought that up, because from a male perspective,
Firsthand.
that's the only, and I'm only speaking to those of us who had their mothers around. I know there are people watching and listening who've been adopted or who had abusive mothers. I can't speak to that because I wasn't in that position,
I was
but
not in that position.
I would say that my mother, and I think most people's mothers, was your first female influence.
Yep.
And how you treated her and how she treated you as a male is going to dictate how you treat females moving forward. And Jose brought up a great example. I think that these jocks or rich kids
Yeah, they're
or
entitled, man.
the entitled set doesn't view their mother on the same level of a nurturing, lifelong, being in your existence the same way that we would, because you've had nannies,
Well, they
you've
were
had
caring.
dads that cheat on the mom, or the mom who's too weak, or whatever it is.
And these are your douchey uptown guys, for those in Dallas.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they are.
Yes.
They are. To be completely honest, they are.
Yes.
And I've met a ton of these guys, and I'm just like, first of all, this is the
That's why
home of the
they stay out of that.
$30,000 millionaire.
Yeah.
And second of all, I don't believe anything that comes out of any frat burro's mouth.
Yeah.
Ever.
No.
You're full of crap.
Oh, come on.
I
You're
hate
being
frat
a little
boys.
hard.
Nope.
No,
No, I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so.
I don't know any frat boys, but I'm sure just like any other category, not everyone's the same.
Yes, but I would say this.
Everybody
If-
I met
if-
down there
if-
was garbage. Yeah.
If you don't want me to lump together all frat bros, then you have to acknowledge that a lot of frat bros lump together chicks who go to frat parties and they're drunk and easy.
I don't fraternize with frat boys, so I don't know.
Come on, you've
I don't,
seen
I don't.
some news somewhere. Have you heard of Baylor University?
Yes, like I know about
it's down
all
the street
of that.
from here.
Yes,
yeah.
I know about that, but like I don't associate myself with them. But just because one thing happened, you can't just group all frat
But
boys.
here's,
I don't even know any. I'm still defending y'all.
and this is the reason why I'm bringing this whole subject up today. Why I wanted to talk about it is that yes, it's not right to stereotype. However, we have a massive problem in this country of men assaulting women, harassing women, raping women, murdering women. And the vice versa doesn't happen, I mean, in an infantile percentage. I mean, less than 1% in regards to how it works. So I think, is it unfair to lump groups of people together? I always think that's unfair. However, if we're going to look at the picture as a whole, first of all, we have to admit all men are lumped together in this. And then we can start finding patterns and, weeding it out.
Dividing them and.
Right. But if you look at college campus assaults, and I'll talk about the Stanford thing. We've done an entire episode on this. But to me, that was the pinnacle of a miscarriage of justice, where this guy rapes a woman behind a dumpster because she was drunk. His defense was, we were both drunk. He was ripped off of her by just a random passerby. The guy gets 6 months in jail, 3 months off for good behavior, and he spends 3 months in what is basically a country club.
Yeah.
Now, granted, his career was ruined and his college education was ruined, but beyond that, he's free and clear. And to me, that is the most grotesque example of what we're talking about right now. And I know there are others that are far, far worse.
Sorry, y'all. I stepped out for a minute. I'm lost. I'm back on the show.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, y'all. I'm back on the show. I'm back.
There you go.
I'm lost. Who we talking about now? Catch me back up.
We're talking about sexual assaults, all of that stuff.
campus.
We talked to the women's perspective.
Who are we talking about right now, though?
Well, you know what? I want to move beyond that because I have a question for you. So we talked to Jose about the fact that he has a daughter and was raised around sisters. So he was raised right. And by the way, I know him better than I know anybody on this show for a multitude of reasons. So I know he's not lying when he says these things. But Cuddy...
Validation.
Yeah, not that you needed it, but it's there. Cuddy also has daughters. And so my question to you is, when you have daughters, does your perspective change, or does it, are you a little more understanding of what's going on, or are you a little more adamant about figuring out what's going on, or what?
I've always been about the women because I have 6 aunts, a mother, 2 sisters. And now that I have 2 daughters, it does make you respect the woman or look at things differently now that you have them in your life on a responsible level. These are ladies who they gonna meet guys like I used to be 10 years from now. So I have to make sure they're coached right, and they're not naive to a lot of things that probably can get used against them. So at the same time, I know being who their mothers are and being who I am, I think they're gonna be ice cold and they'll be able to have a good chess game against guys.
Yeah. But what the women brought up, and I'm glad that you said that, was that it comes down to education.
Exactly.
So you are educating them properly.
They're gonna get cuticated.
They're gonna get cuticated.
Whether they were educated through their dad, mom, teacher, anyone, it all makes sense.
There's a roof over their head that's kind of sprinkling that game on them, giving them juice. But they don't have any, most of the girls that are lost, like the prostitutes, they don't have a father figure. And they how to get out in the streets, they find a pimp because they find somebody that they feel like they already vulnerable, so they find somebody they feel like guiding them into the right direction. Really, it's not. So it's easy for them. When you don't have the people in your, you don't have the forefathers or a forefront in front of you, it's easier to get manipulated into the situation.
It's sad.
And how sad is that?
It's
That
very sad.
the exact thing that you're looking for is what is exploiting you to the extreme. The highest level of exploitation is that, basically. And quite frankly, there are guys who are smart enough, and we're going down a rabbit hole that I don't want it to go all the way down, but we're going to go down one where there are men who utilize anything at their disposal, and in the sake of, or the example of, prostitutes who are just looking for a way out, looking for a father figure. Most of these guys use drugs as a way to say, all right, this is how I can get this girl to do what I need her to do. Once she gets hooked on it, you got her. You got her.
More dedication though. Real pimps that make money. Real pimps that make money though. The big OG pimps, they don't put their women on drugs.
No, they don't want them on drugs.
You want your woman to have. You want your women or your prostitutes to have good clientele.
Right.
So you make them look good. You got on fur coats, you put them on fur coats. You got on Prada, you put them on Prada. That way their clientele will be Prada clientele. Doctors and lawyers.
Right.
But those scumbag pimps, fake pimps, popcorn pimps, they might do that. Some of those girls are already on drugs anyway, so
they're just chasing the high. Yeah.
But and at the same time, they need shelter. They need somewhere to stay at.
Sure.
They don't. I mean, it goes down to all of that. But for sexual assaults on some regular females that ain't out there in those streets, man, it's just all about them knowing and not knowing who's cool and who's not cool. And most of the women who I meet every day or who I'm around, Riley, Jay, whoever, Samantha, anybody, they game tight. It ain't no greenhorns around my circle. That's what I love about the women I'm around. And guess what? I know a lot of greenhorn and naive ladies. Well, I'm not gonna say ladies, females, because they're not ladies, because they're naive. So I mean, and I listen to them talk, and I'm like, shh. And I watch them. I see what 3-4 drinks can do to them. I'm like, golly. And it's so easy. So like, you gotta understand. There we go on that second story. It's 3 stories.
Yeah.
It's some initiation and some engagement that led to that sexual assault from the start anyway. And that's a story that never get brought up anyway. Only thing that happens, this guy raped this girl. But what happened from the beginning? Tell us that story.
Well, and that's when we come back from the break. I want to talk about that because there is a scenario where there's an in and an out, and I think women need to know where that is. And I'm not putting the fault of sexual assault on the women, but I do want to talk about, because there's 4 dudes here, I want to talk about what those signs are so that it might help women prevent themselves from being in that situation in the first place. And also, Cuddy brought up a really good point about prostitution and all of that stuff. We've had Dennis Hoff on the show before, and we're going to have him on again. And I want to talk about the difference between what he does, which I am fully in support of, and what goes on in the streets, which I am morally opposed to. So we're going to talk about that, all that, and more when we get back. This is the Ian Gleason Show.
Righteous.
Yes, hello everybody. It's Bobby from the Ian Gleason Show. And as part of the show's Roadie 2017 promotion, we are going to go to the top listening city to visit and do a live show. So visit patreon.com, patreon.com/The Ian Gleason Show, so that you can support us and we'll come see you. And I'm going to sing now. Ian promised me if there was any more time, I'd be able to sing. So we want to come to you and see you at the show. And we want you to buy us drinks. Please don't fade out my mic while I'm singing, because it's an important part of the show.
All right, welcome back to the Ian Gleason Show. So we left it at a place where a lot of interesting examples were brought up. Cuddy brought up the, pimp-ho relationship. I don't mean to call it that in by way of being derogatory.
Shout out to all you pimps.
It is what it is, yeah. But what I do want to also call out is that we've had Dennis Hoff on the show before, and we'll have him on again. Technically, he is a pimp. But he works in Nevada where prostitution is legal, and the women come to him in order to get a job. Now, I don't know what the backgrounds of these women are. Some of them probably have great family relationships, some of them probably not so good. But I've met some of these women personally, and they do what they want to do when they want to do it, and they make really good money in doing that. So what I want to start out with is I want to get the girl's opinion on that, and then also Cuddy's opinion, because he's the one that brought that circumstance up, and then we'll go around the room and talk about that a little bit. But ladies, what do you think about legalized prostitution? Is that still an exploitation, or is that more control for the woman than in other sets of circumstances?
I'm kind of biased on that. Like, yes and no. It is a business, as far as the specific location we're talking about, Nevada. I think it's a great business and an awesome business owner. I would like to have a conversation with him one day.
We will very soon. By the way, Chino, you can say goodbye now.
Career change, right?
For the business aspect
It's
of it.
okay.
The business
I'll take a
aspect
trip
of it.
out.
Hey, they make a lot of money.
She just wanted to the book.
Check out the business model, that sort of
It's all
thing.
good, man.
She just wanted to do the paperwork.
I'm not looking for a job. I'm not looking for a
got my-
job.
Applications,
I thought it was a career move
applications.
or something. I'm like, wow, what's going on?
Obviously, these women are going there on their own. They're not being taken there, forcibly. So I'm okay with that. I'm not okay with prostitution in general, but I'm okay with that business.
What
Is
if
that
it?
weird?
What if it were? Well, it's not. It's a little weird. Let me ask you a couple of questions.
Well,
What
it's
if
a
it
business
were?
there, so it's
Yeah.
not
What if
like,
it were just legalized in general?
Then go for it.
So you'd be okay with it?
As long as they're not being made, to do this.
Right. Not being exploited, not being
Exactly.
abused. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
If they have their choice to go and apply there, go. If that's what you want to do,
Okay.
do it.
All right. Riley?
I think having a pimp is stupid. It's your own body. I do think that, yeah, it should be legalized because it's your own body. Would that be something I would do? No. But it is your body, and that goes along with multiple other things such as abortion, which we're not talking about. But yeah, I do think it's your own choice, it's your own body. The only reason it's not legal is because they can't figure out how to tax it right. But if you do have a pimp, I think that you're more of a weak-minded person. Why would you give your money that you're doing with your own body to someone else? That doesn't make sense to me.
Which brings us back to how they get you involved in the first place.
Because they already vulnerable.
Drugs.
Most of them already be on drugs, and like I said, they already vulnerable. They already lost in the sauce, so they need that guidance. They need somebody to take them in the right direction or the better direction where they at. So there's anything that's when you rock bottom, anything that's extraordinary gonna be good.
You're vulnerable.
But that's a weak-minded woman who needs a pimp,
It's the reason
though.
why they weak-minded because they didn't have a father figure, and it's where it starts at the house and
That's
the
their
family.
daddy.
And guess what? It's
Yeah.
some women out there.
You can throw insecurity
There
there
are
as
some
well,
women
so
out
that's the other one.
every woman that you meet that's out there doing that, they will give you their story and that's the answer they will give you. I don't know any woman out there that had a man in their life growing up that are doing that.
But think about escorts, right? So escorts,
It's internet pimping now though.
they're doing
internet.
their own
They
thing.
don't even need a pimp. They go on the internet and do it.
True.
They send you a friend request every day on Facebook. You got five. You
I'm just saying.
You got 5 friends. Come on.
I have friends in that field, and they're, the more high-end escorts. They're not prostitutes. But anyways, but they don't have, right? But they don't have, a pimp. It's just them, and that's their own business. And yes, that's illegal, but they put a little fancy name on it, like escort, and it's all good. Now they're not clearly paying taxes or anything, obviously, because nothing
Well,
is
the thing-
recorded. Excuse me?
Tell you what, you think they're not paying taxes? Yeah, of course they're not.
I mean, maybe some of them. I can't speak for everyone, but I would think they're not.
I will tell you though.
Yeah, what do you put that as your occupation?
Right.
I will tell you this, though.
Freelancer.
There's some women though at the Bunny Ranch, man, that they have careers. Like this one lady I watched her
Air Force?
interview. I watched her interview on one broadcast or I think the Breakfast Club or whatever, and she was saying she's a nurse or she does. They not just out. The people the girls that are at the Bunny Ranch, they are not nothing girls. These girls got careers going on. It's just this extra money. And that right,
That's
matter
good money.
of fact, the Bunny Ranch got them to where they at.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it's like a stepping stone, to what's going on.
Pay for college
I'm sorry.
and all of
They're
that.
like strippers, they I'm just now if you 30 years old, you still stripping or college is over, you 10 years behind right now.
Your season is past.
But,
Maybe I'm naive, but what is the Bunny Ranch?
It's a legal brothel in Reno, Nevada, owned by Dennis.
watch pimps and hold down.
Oh, okay.
Who's been on
yeah,
this
I
show before.
Didn't know about that. Cool.
You'll watch
Everybody
this
brings-
documentary.
And that's why brothels are legal because they can figure out how to tax it correctly versus just
But you also
prostitution being illegal.
you get the right girls too. I mean, you get girls. They're coming and applying to
Right,
you. They're not.
But
Not
I mean,
taking them.
Yeah.
not to put my profession of being a hairstylist at anything, but why would being a hairstylist and going off on your own and doing your own thing when you learned a skill be, I guess, different than that? I mean, I know how it's different, obviously, because you're selling your body versus a haircut or something.
Right. No, that makes sense. That makes total sense. But at the same time, what I want to, and actually Cuddy brought up something that I think is really important. It's not just the family environment. What if you grew up in a solid family environment and then you were sexually assaulted by, a friend of the family, which happens more often than not, I think, in terms of sexual assault, but also a random person or on a college campus? How do you protect yourself from that? And I'm going to start with Jose and we'll go all the way around, but in your opinion, how do you mitigate that? I mean, in my opinion, it's really difficult to do. But I'd love to hear everybody's take on how you do that.
In your scenario where you're talking about college, and obviously my daughter went through 6 years of college. Again, it all goes back to education. I said, first of all, don't walk alone because you're a target. I said, listen, lions don't go after I heard of impala. They sit there and pick one out, usually small and one that isn't paying attention. And that's what they pounce on. So I told her, I said, if you find yourself where you're walking alone, first of all, walk briskly, walk like you got a purpose, not aimlessly wandering through. And oh, by the way, keep a key in your hand like this at all times.
Yeah.
And the moment
Or just have a taser.
Yeah, and
Ask
the middle,
Ian about that.
We'll get to that eventually.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But I said, the minute you feel anybody touch you, you reach around and you stab them with it.
Oh, yeah.
Don't even look at them, because if you look at them, you're not going to do it.
Most girls, you look at their keychain, they got a pepper spray or a taser on their keychain.
You know what happens? Because then they can't remember to go ahead and
I know,
that flap.
they panic.
They start to panic, and that's why I
And
said,
it's,
you know,
by
I
the
don't
way,
give
it's
them all
like-
that. Here's a key, use it.
Well, you're
It's
not
like the
trained.
victim of being, or like being the victim of any crime. Like, you're not prepared to get robbed. So even if you have
You're
your
gonna go into
stuff,
some sort of shock or.
unless you practice that circumstance, but I guess maybe that's what I'm suggesting that women do, is practice the potential
Sure.
of this circumstance. Let me ask Chino,
up,
who's
baby?
been largely quiet, but if you had an idea on how women could help themselves in a random scenario of sexual assault, what would you suggest?
Well, first, be aware of your surroundings. I mean, I think that's.
It all goes down
I
to
think
that.
that's important.
That's huge.
And there's a
right
lot of
there.
girls that they don't care. They just drinking and
Television.
not
Having a
even
good
looking
time.
at. Yeah, they're not looking at.
playing on their phone.
Snapchatting.
Yeah. So they're not even.
Miss Snapchat.
They're
over
not even
there.
aware of
Snapchat,
anything that's going
Snapchat.
around. And if you have to walk at night, like Jose said, on campus, let's say I had a daughter, walk with someone. Call a friend before. Don't walk solo.
And by the way,
Oh,
that
yeah.
applies to like city living. That applies to a lot. You don't have to be on campus. That rule applies to a lot
Yeah.
of different things. And I will tell you, when I moved to New York, one of the first things that I learned from a good friend of mine who had lived there forever was, look in the glass of the buildings you're walking by in order to see what other people are doing. You don't need to look directly at them. And by the way, if a car is following you at a slow rate of speed, you change direction, because a car can't, but you can. I mean, it's going to take them a minute to catch up to you, and hopefully you'll be gone by that period of time. So from my perspective, I want to throw that out there on the heels of what Chino said. There are ways that you can circumvent a terrible situation, but you're using your surroundings, like using, the glass of a dress shop to see somebody who's across the street looking at you. If you look directly at them, they know that they're made, so now they're gonna get to work. If they don't know that they're made, then you see them looking at you and you come up with a way to get yourself out of that situation. So let me go to Cuddy, and then I'd like to wrap this up with the girls for their experiences and also in ways that they protect themselves. So Cuddy, do you have a suggestion?
I mean, like, the question was to the ladies that are not like, that come from a big, strong family and household. Most of these
They
women-
taught everything right,
Yeah,
and
and I see it every week. I see it every weekend, pretty much every night. You got these girls, they go in, and when they sober, they straight laced, they cool, they don't talk to nobody. But give them 2 hours, a couple drinks, they loose as a goose. And that's where it goes to those girls. They get they ambition on what they want to do for the night or who they want to be with. It goes away because they are intoxicated. They 5150, so they pretty much lose.
Damn.
They don't know where they at, so they liable to go to the house with somebody, with a guy that they probably don't want to be with, and then they go home and they have sex with this guy, and they wake up in the morning, the next morning while they sober, like, damn, who are you? Like, my whole deal is, you gotta watch these, you guys that are predators, watch these girls you're dealing with, see where they at. If they too drunk or they on drugs, don't go home with them. Me, I don't go home with girls.
You mean dudes who are not predators?
Dudes that are not predators and dudes that are predators. Either way, I mean, well,
the predator dudes are.
you're gonna do it regardless.
Yeah.
You gotta make sure that girl is
But
conscious.
Execute.
Yeah.
Some news and some
We just
knowledge
want
from
to
you
clear
guys.
up the difference.
Yeah, some knowledge from you guys, man. You know, some codification for you. If a girl is sloppy drunk, man, don't go home with her, man. I mean, me, I don't like sloppy drunk sex.
Hell.
It ain't me. I mean, I want a girl to know who she's dealing with and who she's gonna wake up to. And me, I want to be the same way.
And
So
we
you
should
gotta-
also bring up that there is false charges. I think they're very rare
And that's what
compared to the
that's good
reality.
you do
But
that, because
but as a dude, if you want to protect yourself,
don't go home
know
with a drunk girl. and
exactly
go on
know
drugs.
what you're getting into.
I think there's
if
more
you
false
are, you gotta be
charges
somebody
than
you
anything.
know.
I think Riley is right. There are probably more false charges than I realize. But at the same
I'm
time,
gonna go home with a drunk girl. Is a girl I've been knowing for 10 years.
yes,
She knows
yep,
she's going
I'm
home.
with you. I'm with
Other
you.
than that, if I just made sure you're drunk, nah. It's
Yeah,
not going
I'm
on.
with
Stay
you.
there.
Because tomorrow
Leave her
morning
on the
I'll be
bar
on CNN.
So let me ask the ladies now, does any of what we said make sense? Is there anything that you want to dispute? Is there anything that we should have said that we haven't said up to this point? I mean, at this point now, I'm starting to look out for the girls who they just end up in a circumstance where they don't belong and they end up getting hurt for no good reason. Now, we've explored why some women who are in some circumstances can end up being victimized, which is, again, not their fault at all. And I urge people to seek help if they are in that position. But there is also a set of women in this country and a lot of countries around the world who are put at a very distinct disadvantage based on the environment they hang out with or the people that they know. Is there anything that we've missed that you want to talk about, or can you comment on what we've just brought up?
In my opinion, you guys covered it all. I mean, just keep your know your surroundings, know where you're at.
That is important.
And that's
It's
That's a big part
that's
of it.
smart for dudes too. I mean,
Also,
Yeah,
as you
both
get
ways.
older,
Yeah.
if you're above the drinking age, know your limits. Know when to stop and
Yeah.
drink and call a friend, call your mom, whoever it is that supports you, your best friend, whoever it is. Just know your limits and do not get yourself in weird situations.
Righteous.
I
She said
will
it
say
right.
that I know multiple women who, and I know I'm gonna sound like an anti-feminist right now, multiple women who put themselves
Get 'em.
in a position,
Get 'em.
maybe even days before, kind of tempting a guy saying, A, B, or C, and then when it comes down to it, maybe they got a little too drunk because they were nervous or whatever, and then decided, yes, I'm gonna pursue with A, B, or C, and then whenever that happens, maybe the next morning, maybe later on, they realize, hey, didn't really think that I was gonna do that, didn't wanna do that.
regretted it.
Right, it's basically regret, and so I think that's very unfair for the guy, and I see a lot of that. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen on the other end where girls aren't taken advantage of, but I do see more of the girls basically having regret and then kind of ruining a guy's life because of that. I'm
But
not
you're
cool with
also
that.
you're bringing up something that was brought up before too, though. I think is that if you're a guy, if you're not going in, and Cuddy said it perfectly, he's not going to go into this
Yep.
as a
It's their
drunken sex
responsibility at that
experience.
point.
Yeah.
100%.
If you're leading me along, let's go have dinner, a couple of glasses of wine, and then maybe we'll Netflix and chill. But if you're leading me
right.
along for a couple of days and then you get real sloppy, you're probably running into a circumstance that is gonna come back to bite you in the ass as a guy.
So don't get me wrong, as most of you may know, I'm not a hugger. Maybe I hug a few of you here. I'm not a hugger. So the first time,
I remember
like,
that next time.
like right when,
I'm hugging her right now.
God damn it. Okay,
She loves me. I don't know that.
so right when I get
Well, you're
more
hot,
on the
we're
drunk
not.
side, I do end up giving more hugs or this or that, but I still know in my mind, ain't happening, buddy. And I'll even walk to my car with my taser at hand, ready to go.
Yeah.
But I make it very, very, very verbally clear that this is not going to happen.
Situational awareness.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all it really
and
is.
quite frankly, I would say that Riley and I spent a bunch of drunken time together, and we're
Not going to
close.
discuss it.
No, we didn't have sex or any of that weird crap. But
Never.
it's one of those things where it's like, as a guy, I'm thinking to myself, she's super hot. This would be fun. This is before I was in a
She
relationship or
has a
before I were married.
girlfriend. Boyfriend.
Boyfriend.
Whoa.
Yeah. Actually, that's a whole new podcast. And to me, I'm thinking, all right, I've reached the limits of, you know, how flirty I can
I
get.
meant to say boyfriend, not girlfriend.
Call it what you want.
But that was the end of that. It wasn't anything weird. We're still friends, and it's like everything's great, you know, no big deal. But there are people who will misread that. So know who you're with, and if you're one of those people who has a tendency to be, you know, socially awkward or to misread signals, take a second to look around the world that you're in. Understand that if they're inebriated or on drugs, that's not a go-ahead. If they're on a college campus, it doesn't mean that they're there to bang, whether they're messed up or not. And also, if you're walking down the street and somebody is attractive to you and gets your number or spends time with you, that doesn't mean that they're interested in that level of a relationship.
Remember
I was
to
hanging-
always use your words. Always use your words.
Mm-hmm.
I was out last night hanging out, and I sat in my little known spot right there in the corner by myself, and I look like a loner, but I'm really not. And like everybody, like I think about it, it was like it's kind of like fly fishing. You just throw the white purse back up in the water because they ain't big enough. Not big like big, but I'm just saying they ain't good.
Catch and release, man.
Yeah, it's like. But I watch, I do it. I'm sober. I get there like I got there like 11:30, and I'm sober, and everybody already 51:50, and I'm watching all of the chicks walk by that are drunk. And they suspect. The victim.
Oh yeah, you can pick them out.
And I'm watching the action. I'm like, yeah, they why I don't. Those the girls I don't target. And at the spot I be chilling at least about 10 to 15 chicks pass by me, and they hit on me, and half of them are drunk, the other half of them are almost to the drunk part. And I just play that game with them.
Right.
You know, I know who to get at. You know,
Yeah.
it's chess, not checkers. But you just gotta make the right decisions on who you live, who you
Well, and also,
approach.
I just want to add, if you do find, if you're a woman and you have already gone through this and unfortunately you were raped, assaulted in any way, reach out for help. It's always
Yes.
good to talk about it.
You know what?
Do not keep it.
You
Yeah.
bring up a great
100%.
point, and as uncomfortable as it is, I'm a big true crime fan, so I know how some of this stuff works. If you were raped, and I hate to say this because it sounds really gross, but it's going to help in the long run. Don't bathe. Don't do anything to
Get yourself
Go and get
mitigate
checked
that.
first.
Go to the hospital
Because they
and say
can-
this is what happened.
Absolutely.
Because if you bathe, you're washing away evidence, and this person may have been doing this to somebody else, or this person deserves to be prosecuted
Yes.
for what they
yeah.
did.
And there's a
So-
lot of women, I know a lot of women, and not raped, thankfully, not in my close amount of friends, but women that are assaulted verbally every day, and
Mhm.
they don't speak it out. They don't speak out.
It ain't
That's
just the women
almost
too though.
worse,
What about the
though.
little boys,
So,
man, getting raped
talk
by the
about
priest?
Wow, here we go.
I mean,
we talking about sexual assault, right?
Yeah. Well,
Verbally
What about the
abused.
priest raping the little boys?
that's been
The
going
same
on.
day as
That's been
us,
going on since
Yeah.
the
Right, we'll go ahead and
weekend.
shoot
for
them.
centuries.
We'll go ahead and keep it 100, right? 100 coming up, y'all, Wednesday.
Verbal abuse is just as bad, if not
Nice plug.
worse, than
Yeah.
even anything else, because it really gets into your head and you really
Yeah.
start thinking, and your whole security of yourself goes to straight up
Especially when you
insecurity.
already got insecurity going on anyway.
It's
So,
true.
Right.
Most girls are insecure, whether they're the hottest girl out there or whether they're a 2.
Yep.
Every girl has their insecurities, so that's a big one. Don't let any guy tell you anything. Just
And
Be
if you're
working on
gonna do
you.
it, talk about it with someone.
Yes,
Talk about it.
absolutely.
I highly.
So
recommend
I'm gonna put this in the show notes for this week. If you have been sexually assaulted or need to talk to somebody about sexual assault, then I'll post the number that you can call. And we, in the last couple of weeks, have dealt with the whole suicide thing and all that crap. So I'll also post that number too. Before we leave, I want to thank everybody for being here. Jose, thank you for being here as always.
Pat, had a great time as always.
Chino, thank you for running the board, my man.
Hey,
I know
man.
it was tough today.
It was a pleasure.
Okay, good. Cuddy, I'm glad you got that awesome new headset. Thank you.
You know that right now, man. I'm like Stevie Wonder over here, man.
I didn't say that. I said Stevie Wonder got a headset.
I did. You start throwing your shades on right
Hey.
now.
Oh my God.
Righteous.
But I also want to thank you for your input. Jay, thank you so much for bringing up a lot of important things.
Thank you.
And thank you, Riley, for being honest about the situations you've been in.
Of course, anytime.
So, to end this episode, I want to say that if you have been or are more recently a victim of sexual assault, that you need to reach out and we need to end this. And by the way, if you're one of those uneducated dudes, you need to educate yourself. And beyond that, if you're a dude with no game, just learn how to get game. If you're one of those creepy
Or
perverts,
go
you're
buy.
gonna be
Go
caught.
holler at Dennis Hoff and go buy.
Yeah, go,
You
yeah.
got game, go holler at Dennis Hoff.
Sure.
Go buy.
But
Simple as that.
don't put people in a set of circumstances that they don't belong in. Don't be a douchebag. All right.
White boy turn.
That's the end of this episode. I am Ian Gleason,
Boys.
and this is the Ian Gleason Show.
Woo!